probably the power industry has been maybe in the forefront there because of everything from China syndrome to what, that was a movie that wasn't intended to indicate China. But anyway, they have put together standards, but what we're finding is that security, there is no real solution. It's a game. They win, we win, they win, we win. And so what that changes, it changes the overall systems and architecture. When you say security to an IT group, they normally think, oh, that's upload. I mean, that's patch upload. And so how many of these systems that are sitting on critical processes can actually be patched while they're running? And if you say, well, I'm not going to do that, I'm just going to run for a year and then I'll patch, you have to understand that Microsoft and all of them, Linux and Open and Apple, release patches almost on a monthly basis. So if you choose not to update your systems, you are vulnerable after 31 days. And so we've gone through a lot of different changes in how we set up and basically apply more IT style maintenance at some level while trying to protect the process control up underneath.
From a cybersecurity standpoint, in dealing with utilities, they are regulated. It is a major topic of discussion in our customer base. And what we found is, in talking to the experts, is that every system can be hacked. And so it's a matter of determining what level of damage you're going to allow in some of these intrusions. We also see some of the new solutions will probably be developed in a garage, similar to what Google came out with. And so we're keeping a close eye on some of the new innovation that's happening around cybersecurity. From a venture or equity capital standpoint, we're taking some investments and placing some bets around because I think some of the new developments on cybersecurity and how that'll be handled in the future are being developed today, and we're probably not aware of it yet.
Andy, that's a very broad question. It's, again, it depends on the application and from the customer side. It's, okay. If you are in the OEM business, you renew as an OEM the performance of your machine. You have to, minimum every 3 to 4 years with the next machine generation. And you look for the best, most performance solution available, which really helps you to meet your performance targets. On the end user side, it's a different situation. Huh? You want something very reliable. It should last for quite some time. So this is a very generic question. It's not, it cannot be answered with one pure figure. Huh? So,
depends on the application.
No. We would like to sell more, honestly speaking. It's, no doubt about that. No.
Very difficult question. We make transformers, and transformers have a life of 40, 50 years out in the industry. But to say how long at DCS, I guess the life is in the lifespan's in the eye of the beholder. When they have the cost justification, it should last until they're ready to replace it, and that's indefinite.
Yeah. I'd like to say there are, if you look in other areas, like if you look in the fields of computers and data centers and et cetera, you really get a new generation every 18 weeks. And you have to change because the power's down, the capability's up. And so when you see that high-speed change coming, you see a change in architecture and design. Those are designed to be replaced. I think one of the issues is that most DCS are not designed to be replaced, and as a consequence, they're a huge cost.
Standards to get the information flow corrected, as the gentleman was requesting earlier on, not to protect its own turf. Let's say it like this.
So let me understand, Clement. You say we don't need standards, or
I say we
need standards?
We need to agree on standards,
right?
And we still need to stick to it, right? Because as what I said, the gentleman said before, that's his biggest headache.
Right.
And if you talk to system integrators and our partners, it's 50% of the effort to get the system to work together. And that's the biggest pain point, to agree really on this common standard. Look at the safety discussion, integrated safety discussion. Do we have one global standard today? No.
Standardization is important, but smart standardization is even more important. And a big stumbling block for a lot of people adopting standards is they say, I don't want to go to that standard in a wholehearted way. Some of the companies that we've looked at that are most effective in adopting standardizations realize that small segments of their business operation are just too difficult or too arcane to convert. And so they do a smart standardization approach, which will only include perhaps 95% of their operation.
I'd like to say again about it's really into the architecture. If you architect your system, for example, with a huge amount of calculation, computation, applications at what really is a DCS level, then you have a harder time updating than if you use something that's maybe less, more robust and less calculation, then put the calculation at the second level, and then maybe put information at a third level. I mean, there is an architecture in your industry that supports upgrading. And the key to upgrading systems cost effectively is not to get out and start changing the wires. And so maybe look a little bit at your architecture. But as far as the software goes, you know, we've been in a business where it's easier for us. So it's easy for me to say that, but computers are fairly easy to upgrade.
Sure. Well, it certainly is a challenge, and that is no doubt that the you know, the young engineers and technical folks coming out of the university today have a different bent, maybe about things and about life than certainly than I did when I came out of university, and you know, probably most of you. And you know, they're looking for different things out of life. They're looking for different things out of their careers. They're looking for, you know, the ability to make a difference in the world. And probably one of the biggest things is they want to make it quickly, right? I mean, they don't want to, you know, they sit here, they don't want to sit here and listen to me talk about my 27-year career at Dow. They want to know how they can be CEO in 10. And so that is some expectations that we do have to deal with and manage. And I think, you know, one of the things we're doing as far as attraction is changing the methods that we use to go out and interface with people. You know, we're using the social media to communicate back and forth. We try to be much more in contact than we were in the past. You know, we're looking for different places and different, you know, maybe even different schools where we can bring in students, and I'm talking mainly at an undergraduate level, you know, not a PhD level. And then we look at the type of assignments that we bring those people into, and you know, we're more and more trying to give them a look at several different areas of career direction, and let them, you know, see some different things before they make a decision on where they want to be, you know, for maybe a longer term. We also try to connect them with mentors, you know, younger people who have been in the company maybe 5 to 10 years, who can stay in contact with them, answer questions directly, you know, and make those connections, as well as, you know, giving them some exposure more readily than maybe we did in the past to people higher up in the company, so that they can feel a little bit of that connection, understand, you know, that, you know, you don't have to be CEO to still have a pretty good career and get to pretty good positions. So, but I would say it is an area that we are still evolving in and learning. And if you look at the demographics of our company, you know, and probably many of the, at least the user companies, it's going to be a bigger and bigger issue for us over the next 5 years as more and more people reach the age of retirement. So.
Dave, could I ask you to make a comment maybe from your side, then we can move to suppliers? Yeah.
Absolutely. I echo a lot of the things that Don said, but I think one of the biggest changes is that in the past, large companies, and I'll talk to Shell and maybe some of the other members of the oil group, you know, looked at a cookie-cutter approach. They had a new graduate program that brought people in largely on a technical track and moved them out through the company. I think one of the biggest ahas that we've seen in the industry, almost everybody has adopted, is that we really need an adaptive program, which has a variety of ways for people to come into the industry. I think another important fact is that the realization has been grasped that, you know what, we may not have them for their whole career. The idea of cradle to grave in a particular company has pretty much been abandoned. And people are trying to think about how they can position new graduates to be effective, productive, and really make a contribution in a short period of time. This includes a variety of things. Once again, to Don's point about exposure to senior leaders and new and innovative programs in the company, but also moving along faster tracks and different development tracks within the company.
Good. Thank you. Pat?
Well, I was going to say, first of all, we say new graduates, not youngs. That's not allowed anymore. But even without HR here, I have to say that there's contributions made over the entire range of working people. And we do hire a lot from the universities, and the people come in inexperienced, and they need to work with other people, and they have to progress through the system. But we also bring in people with many years of experience. I think the key on it is that I think a lot of us, or a lot of what I've heard is, oh, we have this aging workforce, 50% are going to retire in the next 5 years, or whatever. And for those of you that are near retirement age, think back. They just want us out of the way. They'll take over and they'll do fine just like we did. So I don't see any problems at all on this aging workforce. I think the important thing is to watch your programs. For example, some companies have arranged their business model so that essentially they hire and fire and hire and fire, and that's really bad on a workforce. So just look and see how you're treating the people and bring them up, and it shouldn't be a problem, I wouldn't think.
Good.
Maybe just let me add one single point is, I think these are all the good stuff we have to do once we have attracted the people. But we also, and here as a whole industry, I think we should really take care of how we communicate into the market and how we present ourselves to make us more attractive to those youngsters who have alternative choices. And working for Google is a much more sexier proposition than maybe for some of us, heavy stuff engineering. So, and this is, I think we have to really take care of that. And with a proper communication, we can attract those youngsters, and then once they discover us, they see that we really have to offer a lot of exciting opportunities and possibilities. Maybe more than in those hyper companies.
And to echo what Don said, they have to feel like they're making a difference. And so for us, as we look forward to our growth objectives and some of the targets and opportunities that are ahead of us, the single biggest obstacle to growth is the talent pipeline. And so we're approaching that from a variety of different ways. And the answer is you almost have to do everything from the Twitter to the Facebook to endowments that we're setting up to full scholarships at targeted universities that we're doing. And then when we have those people on board, we put them through a rotational program so they have experience across a broad stretch of the company. And we work pretty closely with them. We also set up mentorship programs. And you almost have to do everything there.